Welcome to this episode of Main Street Today, where TWRA takes us outdoors with some new programs, where we will go to destination dining in Lebanon, Tennessee with TownSquareSocial. And we also have new music from Singer Songwriter Billy Dawson you're just going to love. I'm Devin O'Day. Main Street Today starts now.
The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast Extra is on the air. For the latest in outdoor news, information, and inspiration, here's your host, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We thank y'all for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I've made it back to the office. I'm excited. We've got limited access to the office now, and I'm able to get in the studio and shoot this show for you today. So we're all still social distancing. I got Taylor Martin from the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, and Mr. Mike Parsley, my boss here at the agency. He's our Assistant Chief of Communications and Outreach, and I appreciate these guys being with us, but they're on location at their homes and their offices at home, and I'm here in studio and glad to be here. It should be a good show for you today. Before we get started, I wanted to just kind of highlight what all's going on. We've been putting a lot of content out there on YouTube and Facebook, videos about how to go fish and tackle tips and ways to fish and things like that, and we're excited to bring you those. And then Matt Cameron out in East Tennessee came up with an idea called Drop the Tailgate, and those have been rolling out on Facebook and YouTube, so go check those out. It's just conversations on the tailgate after the hunt or after the fishing trip and that kind of thing. So it's pretty neat to check those out, and a lot of cool stuff is learned by watching those, and we appreciate Mike leading the charge on some of those tackle tips. He's got some insight on some fishing. He loves to fish, and we appreciate him doing that for us. And then we're gonna talk about the Hunting and Fishing Academy today. Before we do that, I wanted to talk about a hat, not the one I'm wearing today, not the Wildcast hat, but we do have another hat coming soon. It's a navy blue color with the agency logo. We've been selling some hats here lately. We had the winter version, and then we had the tan version that has the mesh back, and now we got a blue one coming, a dark navy blue with a mesh back, and it's a pretty cool hat. I've seen it, and it'll be online before you know it, so go check that out, get you one of those. Not a lot of people know about Tennessee Wildlife Federation, and we want to highlight what they do, and then want to jump into the Hunting and Fishing Academy, a new program that they're leading for us. And so let's just jump in real quick. What is the Federation? What does the Federation, Tennessee Wildlife Federation, do, and who are they? Taylor?
Like you said, not a lot of people know who we are at Tennessee Wildlife Federation, which is kind of surprising. We've been around the state for a pretty long time. We started back out in 1946, and we've had a few different names since then, but we're Tennessee Wildlife Federation now. And our main drive right now is the dedicated conservation, the sound management, and wise use of Tennessee's great outdoors. So we're really a group that represents hunters and anglers all throughout the state of Tennessee. Conservation policy, we've developed a youth outreach arm, which that's where Hunting and Fishing Academy fits in, and it's where our Tennessee Scholastic Clay Target program also fits in. Trying to get more people involved in the outdoors and make sure there's continuing funding for conservation throughout the state of Tennessee. Because we all know with North America being on the conservation model that it is, most of the conservation dollars comes from hunters and anglers buying their hunting and fishing licenses, and then the excise tax they pay on their equipment. We know if there's less people getting involved in the outdoors, there's less money to go towards conservation. And that not only hurts hunters and anglers, but it also hurts bird watchers, hikers, kayakers, people that just like getting out in the wild places of Tennessee.
Hey friends, Don King here, inviting you to check out the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency's new TV show, Tennessee Outdoor Journal. It features a behind-the-scenes look at the work being done to conserve and manage our state's fish and wildlife. It also talks about boating and wildlife watching opportunities. Visit our website at tnwildlife.org to find a station in your area or your favorite social media site.
Have you joined us on Facebook? Main Street Today is a page where you can go with us to tour some of the places we talk about. It's also a place to send us a message about story ideas or stories you've liked. Speaking of stories, let's go now to Lebanon, Tennessee, to the historic square, a beautiful area known in the past as an antique store draw. It's changed in the past year. New parking lots, clothing boutiques, and a lovely bookstore are now among the businesses you'll find. This story is about two local boys, Kyle Schaefer and Cody McCrae, who grew up visiting that square with their mamas and realized a need. They paid their dues in food and beverage at places like Tootsie's, Honky Tonk Central, and Corner Pub in Nashville. They brought their experience home to the square, and with a lot of sweat equity, fueled by a dream, TownSquareSocial, or TSS, opened their doors.
We've done this for 12, 13 years, done it for a long time, and we always kind of had a dream, I guess, of owning our own restaurant bar and wanted to do that. And luckily enough, we were able to do that in our hometown, so Lebanon, Tennessee.
So you're both from here?
We are. We're both local boys. He went to Friendship, or I went to Friendship, he went to Lebanon. Kyle actually went to college here at Cumberland. So.
Baseball guys?
Baseball, basketball, football, all of them, all the sports, yeah.
This historic spot, when you walked in, it did not look like this.
Not even close. No, it was, it took, I'd say, a couple of weeks just to clean it out. It was used as I think an old antique store, and it's been multiple things over the years. But yeah, we spent almost 2 years renovating the whole building, so it took some time.
What's your earliest memory as a kid coming to this area of Lebanon and seeing these buildings?
I just remember as a child driving around the square with my parents, and my mother, she loved antiques, of course. She would take us down here, and there was nothing to eat ever whenever I was growing up. So we saw the niche that they needed food down here on the square, and we were kind of scared, of course, at first for Lebanon, and then we didn't see a lot of traffic, and then as people got wind what we were going to do, people were just stopping constantly, asking when we were going to be open.
When you try to figure out a menu for a place that hasn't had a restaurant in it, you have a big palette. How did you choose the menu items that you were going to start with?
Jeremy Belcher is our head smoke master, whatever you want to call him, smoke guy. So I guess it's barbecue forward, smoked chicken, wings, pulled pork. That's kind of our base, and we kind of built it around that. Sandwich-wise, salads, all the other stuff. I would say it's kind of American. I don't know if you want to call it a gastropub, but I would say it's just Americanized, good old Southern food.
The smoked meats here are amazing, and I don't know, the way that you get chicken to stay juicy and smoked at the same time on a salad, for the people who are on keto, this is your place to go to because it is exactly what you need. It has the most amazing meats in the world. What's your favorite thing on the menu?
Probably our chicken tenders. They're hand-breaded. That's kind of my go-to, and probably the second favorite would be our burgers, or patty melt.
It's so crazy to follow the success of wings in our world now. Even 50 years ago, chicken wings were not on menus anywhere for any reason and anything. And now it is the thing that draws people, and they'll just come in just for the wings. But you smoke yours. It's a really special process that you guys have.
Correct. So we used to set them in a marinade for 24 hours. Now since we've had this Southern Pride smoker, the way that smoker works, it keeps the meat juicier. It's a really expensive smoker, so kind of a Cadillac of the smoker, rotisserie. We smoke them for, 3 hours or so, 3 to 4 hours, depending on how many we have in there.
When there are partnerships, everybody has a strength, and it's like, here's what I bring to the party, and everybody's got something that makes that partnership work. What do you think is the thing that you bring to the party?
In my past, I'd done a little bit of restoration work, and so I was always kind of taught as a child to, you don't always have to throw that away. You can probably fix it. And so that's what I think what we kind of built it off of in the beginning, what I brought to the table in the beginning. And then Kyle, of course, he had a lot of management skills coming out of Nashville. Very level-headed, calm, I don't think his pulse rate really gets very high compared to mine, so...
But it takes both kinds. It's always the yin and the yang that makes a well-rounded business. When you started redoing this, what I love is that you've maintained the integrity of this building. You feel like you're walking into a piece of history. Do you know anything about the history of this building and what it was, other than an antique store, but before that?
It was originally called Cash's Dry Goods Store. Kim Parks with Historic Lebanon someone had given her an old photo, and we looked at it. We actually worked with them as well with trying to restore the storefront to its original.
A Main Street grant for the building to redo that.
countless hours of looking. It's the photo's kind of blurry, but we could kind of see where windows were, and at one time we could never figure out if it had a glass that was curved, but they don't make curved glass anymore. It's kind of an art that's died. Anyway, so now we started restoration of the storefront. When we cut out to build the bar, we saved all the hardwood flooring and then built the bar top actually out of the hardwood flooring.
Well over 100-year-old heart pine that's on the bar top. We refurbished as well. Original hardwood floors in here. It's got a lot of cool features, the brick and the open feel to it.
Were there any things that you had to watch out for as a historic building, as far as, was it listed where you had to do certain things?
That was mainly just the storefront. Interior-wise, I think it's kind of up to you what you want to do, because it had plaster on all these, so we chiseled all the plaster off the brick. So that you see exposed brick, this was all covered, all completely, with the 14-foot ceilings. Yes.
How on earth did you do that?
Really a hammer, chisel, and a ladder. After about a half a day, we realized that we need to go get rebreathers, so we bought masks because we had a lot of dust flying around it.
When you look at a building and you have this dream of when you started, how long from the day that you had this dream, you got the keys to the place, to when you could actually take your first customer? How long was that?
2 years, probably.
Close to 2 years. We didn't have that in our budget to just hire a construction company and fly with it. So it was me and this guy right here constantly working on something.
Sweat equity, I guess, is what you call it. We just didn't have the extra bankroll to do that, so you'd have to do a lot of the work yourself.
What was the thing that each of you did for each other to keep each other boosted, so that we can do this?
We knew if we ever got the job completed, a lot of people probably thought we weren't going to complete it because it took so long to do it. We always thought it would do well just because Lebanon had nothing like that on the square. And like I said, being a couple local guys, people want to support you, support local. So we had the vision of it. I think we just had to see it out. That's the main thing, see it through. So
I would say probably one of the coolest things that I remember that I experienced was I drove past St. Louis. I think it was Columbia, Missouri, and I picked up the actual library ladder that we used to get the liquor. And Kyle was at work. He couldn't get off. He was like, just call me. If you get tired, just call me. So I thought, well, I'll stop in St. Louis and stay, somewhere there. And then I was like, well, I've got ladders hanging out of the back. I don't know if that's the smartest thing antique ladders and if someone backed into them because they were hanging out of the back. And so I just drank a bunch of coffee and called him every 5 minutes.
So when people come in here and see that library ladder there at the bar, they better know what a price it was. It wasn't just cost of getting it dollar-wise. It was the cost on your body to get it here.
13 hours of driving, right? Is that what you took? Yeah, 13 hours to go get it.
It was kind of crazy to see this different land. And then whenever I get to Columbia, it was flat. I was like, where am I at? And so anyways, walked in. The lady was like, are you looking or buying? I was like, I'm buying. I just drove 7.5 hours. So let's get this show on the road. We got him here, and it was the piece to the puzzle of the bar that we knew we needed.
There's a yellow ribbon up there. What is the significance?
That is for Jeremy Belcher's brother, served overseas. So yeah, he put that up there. He's like, do you mind if I put that up there? I was like, no, man, put it up there. Fly it proudly. So that's what that's there for.
You're becoming a destination drive for a lot of people because they hear about it. They go, it's so quaint here on the square and the food is so good. What do you recommend for first timers?
Food-wise, I would definitely try our smoked wings. You can't get them just anywhere. You can get chicken tenders and other stuff. Other places, granted, ours are really good. They're made with love and hand-breaded. But I would say, smoked wings. Try any of the smoked food. Our smoked chicken people rave about. One of my favorites is the Cuban. That's got our pulled pork on there as well.
Anybody that comes here and they say, look, I've got a party. This food is so good. Do you also do catering yet?
We do a lot of caterings, actually. Anywhere from office parties to Christmas parties to rehearsal dinners. I mean, now we're starting to actually do receptions. So we do a wide variety of catering. So anywhere from a taco nacho bar all the way up to prime rib to beef tenderloin, pork tenderloin.
The pandemic is something no one's ever experienced. So as far as Town Square, are you back to full capacity?
Yes, we are back at 100%. We're trying to wipe down tables. All of our servers and bartenders wear masks as well. So we just try to do our part. Just wipe down stuff, door handles, tables. That's the main thing, I think. So I think we've done a pretty good job with that. We closed down for about a month to kind of just close down and do our part.
The first thing anyone says when they start restaurants is, I never get to see my family. I have no life except the restaurant. Have you guys, how do you maintain your balance?
We put our time in during the week, and we have a great staff that, we can kind of leave it to them and let them do their thing on the weekends. So,
speaking of your hours,
our hours of operation are, we open at lunch at 11 o'clock every day and close about 8 during the week, and the weekends it's 11. So 11 to 11 during the weekends, and 7 days a week.
And when someone says, hey, why don't you serve breakfast too? Do you just go, no, we open at lunch?
To be determined. We'll see. Maybe later on down the road. We're expanding into next door. We're going to be doing wood fire brick oven pizza soon. So, when COVID-19 happened, we shut down. Of course, we were scared, but we're also in the middle of a build out. So Colin and I kept our distance from each other. But our ultimate goal is to try to get this going after the 4th of July sometime.
That is exciting. Will you do delivery or will you do curbside as far as the pizza?
We'll definitely do curbside. I don't know delivery. I just don't know how busy it'll be if we do that. Possibly kick the idea around of doing our own delivery service. I don't know.
Will it be wood-fired pizza with smoked meats?
It'll just be an extension to the restaurant. You'll be able to get the same thing that you get from TSS over on that side. We have French doors that you can pass through in and out. We actually have been using that to kind of spread tables out. We're not ready for pizza, but we've been using that side for COVID-19 to kind of keep people 6 feet apart.
Yeah, keeping your distance.
Well, thank you for your time today for the podcast.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
We tell the stories of your Main Street. The award-winning smoked wings and gathering place, TownSquareSocial on the Square in Lebanon, Tennessee, is destination dining, which means come visit the square. Enjoy the boutiques, antiques, and now some incredible food and a bourbon collection at the bar that surpasses 200 bottles. Curbside pickup, dine-in, wood-fired pizza. I recommend the crisp green salad with smoked chicken. Amazing. See their menu on Facebook at TownSquareSocial and read their incredible reviews on Yelp. Catering and private parties, too. Open 11 a.m., 7 days a week through supper time. And they have also joined us at Main Street Media to honor Tommy Bryan, our veteran sports writer, one of the newest inductees into the Tennessee Sports Writers Hall of Fame.
Some mountains never get climbed, some horses never run wild, some blackbirds never fly high enough to touch the blue, some chances never get taken, some hearts will never let you come close enough to unbreak them, and some dreams never come true, but some do, some do.
Billy Dawson wrote the theme song Born to Lead for the CBS Sports Network Lombardi Awards. He also created a children's book about bullying, racism, and those suffering with disabilities and other life challenges called You Never Know. And he performed at the Thanksgiving Day game for the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles, which is pretty monumental for a kid from Sunray, Texas. Welcome, Billy Dawson.
Hey, Miss Devin O'Day. I'm just so honored to be on here. Thank you so much.
Billy, take us back to the beginning.
I think music started for me in church. Grew up singing in church, in children's church, and grew up doing that. But I used to run around Bible studies in my Cookie Monster shoes, and I'd run through the living room naked at our Bible studies whenever I was like 2 or 3 years old. Just a funny story, but my dad, I'd always sit there and listen to him play after Bible study. So they would go from playing As the Deer Panteth for the Water to, afterwards they'd play Willie Nelson and Jimi Hendrix. So I kind of fell in love with music that way and ended up jumping on my dad's guitar cases and putting holes in his guitars. And I still have those guitars to this day.
Yeah, church without Jesus means nothing at all. It's just a beautiful cracked in pieces in a church without Jesus. church without Jesus.
I ended up moving to Nashville years and years later. I didn't think I was good enough or whatnot. Everybody has those moments of like, man, maybe I'm not good enough to move there, but I did, and things started happening, you know, and I think just getting here was a success to me. Obviously, the Jerry Lewis Telethon and Jerry House and all them, that iHeartRadio competition that I submitted my song to, I wasn't going to do it, and my friend Susan Green and my wife, my girlfriend at the time, Lacey, they said, you need to submit this song, and so I did, and Jerry House called me, and I was like, wow, something happened. This is really cool. So I think that's my first success story. So I played this song and took a break and went down to get a water. And Lee's like, hey, man, did you write that song? I said, yeah. And he said, man, I want to work with you. He said, here's my phone number. Let's do a phone call or whatever and start working, you know, writing or whatnot. And we got together, but it ended up being a co-write with Sarah Bryce and Dalia Shane, and it was our first song called Singer Saints. So my producer, Rodney Clausen, and my other producer, Jacob Bryce and Lee Bryce, they all got together to form this Singer Saints, this new single that it's just pretty incredible to be working with these heroes. You know, we shot the video in White Sands, New Mexico. My wife is the female role in it, and she makes the whole video. It's just gorgeous. Sarah came up with this title, Sinner Saints, and I was like, what does it mean, you know? And she's like, well, God made her just right. He knew what he was doing when she came into my life. I'm whiskey bent and hell-bound. She's perfect and I ain't. That's why God gives sinners saints.
Her day starts with a coffee and her Bible. God, I love the way she prays. I'm just a broken man still searching for revival. She makes up for my mistakes. Yeah, she leads me to the light.
Glad I got to be in the room that day, and it turned out to be so cool.
Her grace is amazing. God made her just right. He knew what he was doing when she came into my life. I'm whiskey bent and hell-bound. She's perfect and I ain't. Yeah, that's why God gives sinners saints.
Songwriters probably didn't choose their gift, it chose them. I think songwriters are just like antennas, you know, from heaven to earth, man. I always tell Rivers, I'm like, man, God poured some Captain Crunch in your bowl today, man. It's just like, you see people writing House That Built Me, Dirt for Florida Georgia Line, and When I Get Where I'm Going, like, just those are songs that are just like so incredible. They got to be coming from somewhere in the heavens. You got to know that. So I think the song does choose us, but we have to be open to receiving something like that. And it's one of those things that, you know, being in a session or something like that, you feel like some days that you're nothing, but then other days it's like, wow, all this stuff just starts pouring out. So I think the more open we are with stuff like that, the more a song can flow through us and get out to the world. My grandmother always told me to write stories down, write stuff down that happened to me, and you never know when you're going to use it or somebody else will be able to benefit from it. So anyway, I went to a different state, and I was writing a song. It was just a terrible trip. I don't know. There was some stuff that went on, and it was just a different trip, and I was already in a bad mood. And then I got to the airport, and I accidentally packed my credit card and money underneath my plane. I had my license and stuff, but I didn't have any money. And then there was a layover, so I had to beg a lady for a Snickers, and I said I'd pay her back, and she went, "No, man, you're kind of weird. I'm good." So it was a bad time, and so I flew back into Nashville. Drove down to the local, there was a local burger joint when my wife picked me up. I got in the driver's seat, pulled through there, And a guy just yells at me and he's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, wow, dude. I was like, hold on. I said, I just want a number 2 with onions, cheese, pickles, ketchup, mustard, no mayo because I hate mayonnaise. And he said, "So that's a number 1 with the mayo." And he's just yelling at me. So I got a little agitated and I repeated. I said, "No, it's a number 2, yada, yada." And I'm already in a bad mood. I'm in hangry mode, And so he said, "That's what I said." So anyway, I kind of peeled out and made some gestures, and he did too. And it was just like, it was bad. It was not good. So we're driving down towards home, and I just, in my heart, I start saying, what if this is his second job? What if his wife left him? What if his dog died? What if he found out he had cancer? All these things started bombarding my heart, I turned around, and my wife was like, "I know what you're doing, We pull through the drive-thru, and I see the guy when I'm pulling around there. And he had a shiny bald head like Bull in Night Court. I used to watch Night Court with my grandpa, so it's a good memory. But so I pulled back through there. I said, "Hey, is this the guy I just yelled at?" He said, "No, sir, it's not." And I said, "Yeah, it is. I saw your shiny bald head when I pulled back through." And he said, "Yeah, what of it?" And starts just yelling at me. And I'm like, I said, "Man, I'm just coming to apologize." And I told him what I saw in my heart or head or whatever you want to call it, soul. And he starts like crying through the drive-thru. And he says, "You don't even know, man, I've had the worst day. Nobody ever does that. Nobody ever turns around." And we became friends within a matter of just like seconds, just like, whoa. And he was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. And like all our walls just fell down. So, a few little words can, be an ice pick or a paintbrush. My mom had this deal on her cabinet by the kitchen. And every time you got a cup or whatnot, it says your words can be an ice pick or a paintbrush. And that always stuck with me, and so there's a quote in my book, is life is like a work of art. You get to paint it the way you want, but you only get one canvas, so choose wisely how you brush. And so that's kind of cool that I get to speak around schools and get to take special guests and do all kinds of things. We actually had a kid turn in a suicide note one day, and I thought he was wanting me to sign a little piece of paper or whatnot. And he said, "No, I want you to read it," and I'm not doing this. And so we got him help. So I think that, impacting people is just the main thing in this life. Glory to God about that. It ain't me. It's really cool to see the effects of stuff like that.
There aren't many, if any, country music artists that can say they toured as the guitar player for the Christian rock band Skillet, or had a best-selling children's book, or that they're a featured keynote for nonprofits, even using songwriting as therapy for Beat of Life. But Billy Dawson can. Billy, you're a great storyteller. Thank you for sharing with us today. How can we find your music and more about you?
You can go to BillyDawsonMusic.com. You can go to Instagram at BillyDawsonMusic, all one word. Or you can go to Twitter, BillyDawson, the number 1. Or you might be able to find me in the back of a red truck in a Chevy commercial somewhere. Or you could just Google me. More so, I'd like to shake a hand at a show and say hello to everyone. I just want to thank Devin O'Day for having me on. Love you guys. God bless.
God made her just right. He knew what he was doing when she came into my life. I'm whiskey been hellbound. She's perfect and I ain't. Yeah, that's why God gives sinners saints. Yeah, that's why God gives sinners saints. Yeah, sometimes God gives
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Main Street Today. I hope that wherever you're listening to this podcast, you will click subscribe, download, share. If you do have an Instagram page, we encourage you to follow us there as well. We've got lots of pictures from all of these interviews at Main Street Today Radio. I'm Devin O'Day.